Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So, back on Misty Hills, late summer, or June I guess as we call it, if we're going by straight months, the 6th day of the year, and our wheat's ready to harvest. So, let's get cracking. Took me a while to pick it, sorry about that. Alright, so I'm going to head up to 97.98 to start. I could go ahead and do 89, but I'll finish up there. And again, it's a typical day that I've had that I am just going to have to get on and off the server and do what I can when I can. So there we go, there's our wheat on 89 as everything starts to get updated. So I did just log in, as you can tell, because obviously the fields aren't already rendered with what's there. I imagine it's easier as we drive something like this around the server, where it's got a few seconds between each row, but I don't know for sure. Oh, there's field 93, looks like Wild Moose Farms has got the grass work going, so definitely he was just on, so we chatted for a moment, and he had to get going, just as I'm going to have to get going probably in 30 minutes or so, but I at least want to get things down here and start moving along. So I have been not needed on the farm, which has been fine. That's part of what I wanted to try out, and it's given me chances to do other things and get intrigued in other items. As you've seen, I've got a whole new simulator I shared with folks out on the channel that I've begun dabbling with, and definitely keeping up on the FS22 news a little bit more, and all in all, just participating in real life a little more than sometimes I do. So my wife and I have caught up on a lot of recorded TV that we haven't been watching for a while, and it's been nice and a blessing that ours has been able to get on and do things. And there's always that challenge, especially in the spring, where there's just one job to do. We're either planting or we're spraying herbicide or something, and if we both needed to be on at the same time, there wouldn't be work for both. And I know how it was as a contractor. You're wanting to make money, and so I wanted to kind of give him that space and give him that opportunity, rather than pop in and say, hey, I want to do some work now. So but it is nice to be back here and working the farm again. I've had enough of a time away at this point, due to him being able to handle that work for me, that it's been almost like I've had a good portion of time away from the farm. So let's fold up the harvester, see if I remember how to do this work. I'm a funny guy, but no, I know I'll be fine. But there is a possibility that I'll see things, or something may have happened that I wasn't aware of, So I need to unfold the harvester. At least I didn't get the warning. But, alright, and now I should be able to do that. Get the GPS moving along here. I was going to say it's not going to move, but it did. Just took a little bit of effort on its part. And it should get me there. Huh. I guess that'll work. It's just off the field more than I'd like, but it's alright. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead still, because basically it's late summer. In reality, this is a Saturday, so, you know, I'm just starting the weekend, but likely the cotton might be ready tomorrow. I don't think so, actually, though, because I did go into the field with the measuring tool, and it says it's at 33% growth, so I think that means it's got at least 2 days till it's going to be ready, which means it'll be a Monday. So I'm was debating, do I want to do some bales? And what I may do is I may drop some straw on 89, because that's down there and I can just get a few bales and I don't have to transport them as far. I mean, I could put bale stores up on the edge here, but I'm going to ease into it and just kind of see how it all fits in, because, you know, the other side of it, and one of the reasons that I guess I wasn't that far over, it just was an optical illusion. Not that far over at all. I don't know what I felt was happening back there, but alright, so even with wheat, I've got a good amount of these spots on the field, and I know they happen, but they just seem to be happening more than I recall, but maybe that's just my memory playing tricks on me. So yeah, this wheat is a bit higher yielding than the oats we've been planting for a while, and even the barley, I think. So we're already over 50% just in one pass here. So I'm going to have to think about, yeah, I think if I just run the top headland, which is what I would normally do anyway, that'll give me enough room to run the truck up the side here and then over. And that should work. But yeah, I am loving straightening out this field because I was able to just drive and not have to play any games here on this end. But yeah, I may not even be able to get across the field here before, whoops, gotta change direction. So I do know that the contractor has not been in the harvester because he does not seem to use EV, so if I get in vehicles after he's been in, I do have to turn it back on, which is fine. I know in the beginning I didn't like EV, and not that I'm expecting that he's going to like EV, some people just don't like EV, but it is an indicator at this point that I've noticed that I can tell. So, like the truck and some of the tractors, when I hopped in and did some of the spraying the other day, you know, had to get that set up in the beginning as well. Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm going to even make it to the end here, so I'm going to have to back off and open up the pipe. Well, I might. I don't know. It's going to be close. But I think I'm going to be just short. Because once again, I don't want to destroy crops pushing things too far. Yeah, definitely not going to make it now that I see what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and do it the old-fashioned way, as if I was horseplay or something. Put that out there. So yeah, I've been experimenting with some of the course play stuff in FS22, trying to find the truck, but don't know that it's there. So yeah, you can see EVs off there. Actually, I think it's over here. I think I saw it when I was measuring the field. Yep. Alright, and he's connected, so I want to disconnect. And get myself moving. And I almost just started driving to the field. I'm clearly way out of practice. No, I need this trailer. It's the whole point of coming and getting the truck. I can't put a lot of wheat into the fifth wheel hitch on my truck. It won't hold a lot. But just like riding a bicycle, you know, things come back pretty quickly. So I'll say, if I do say so myself, I backed in there pretty well. Let me just go ahead and head out this way. Just look over my domain, see what it all looks like. I think he got all the cotton done the same day, so yeah, it looks like it's in the same growth stage. Yeah, it's interesting. So I was curious because he had planted this tiny corner early, just before the temperature was ready, and you know, I know he went over it, but the question I had in my mind was, you know, if you've ever done Farming Simulator and planted, even without precision farming, seeds won't drop if you're already going over where you've planted. And so I didn't know if it would redo the seeds and give me fresh seeds that were planted at the right temperature and keep up with things, or if I'd have a situation where I'd have a little corner of the field that never germinated or never grew to maturity. But looks like it's all going to work out, and it was just a tiny bit. And when I chatted with him in chat, he said he was just testing to see if he would at least get a warning from the game that he was planting outside the temperature. And having done that myself, trying to test the system a little bit, I will tell you, no, it does not. You're free to do whatever you want to do with that. And I'm going too far, so I was heading to the road, which that is muscle memory for certain, because I don't ever come in here from what I just did and then run up the edge of the field. So a little bit of a hiccup there, but all is well. No harm, no foul. But yeah, we'll keep moving on this. As I said, at this point, you know, it's going to be really brief in this segment, so I'll go ahead and jump into a little bit of time lapse for you guys, and you know, then I'll continue when I can later today, and you know, we'll chat at that point. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I'm going to jump back on here just before I get ready to take the break to run my errands this morning. But what I was hoping to see, and I'm happy to see that it's working out that way, is that before the truck was full, that I would clear out this side so that I'd have a much clearer path to get to the silo, and I wouldn't have to drive around the field, come up the driveway, and so forth. Because I think if you recall, one time, I think when I planted oats here, I just basically took the harvester and just went right up the center from the location so that I could come back down the field. Because I think if I start from the other side, I don't have that luxury. It's wider over there, and I've got more time to get to the driveway. So, but starting on this side, which I think I've rarely done, partially because of the... Sorry, it freaked me out a bit because it looked like the header was coming off the ground, but yeah, there is a little bit of an anomaly in the ground here, if I recall. It sometimes does make the harvester not grab the crop. So I do recall that now that that's happened. But yeah, I didn't go this way before simply because the field wasn't straight. And so the couple times I had tried that, I was suddenly having to adjust, and then, my GPS line was off, and it just was irritating. So I had always made it a habit to start at the other side of the field because I knew I had a straight edge. But now that I've corrected that with my plowing a couple years ago, I've got a different alternative, and I must say I'm liking it because this is a lot cleaner. And the benefit here is just, not that I'm driving recklessly, but I'm driving faster and with a little less concern for accuracy. How about that? If I don't have crop right around here, so it just allows me to kind of get into the silo, more importantly, quickly get out of the silo and head back as I continue doing the harvest. And that was also part of the reason I wanted to come up here and do these fields as a starting point. I was worried I was going to miss a bit, but I didn't. Not bad placement. That worked out well. Now I have been sitting here and paying attention, I promise, but I'm sure in the time lapse you saw both times I ran into the crop, and it's filling so quickly. I literally look away for a second. Been sitting here eating my breakfast while the harvester works and so forth. So that's what happened the last time, is I thought I had more time than I did, even though I had the meter up, and suddenly I'm in the crop again. So let's see if I can avoid it for the third time. More importantly, let's see if I can get to the end, but I'm thinking that's not going to happen. So let me position my pipe. And yeah, this pipe angling, I'm beginning to think this is a add-on from a modder or something, because I don't think I've found another harvester that does this in Farm Simulator. And so it's been kind of disappointing because I love that feature for exactly this purpose. Is I can just leave the harvester there, but I can still get in. More importantly, when you've got large fields, if we're working a large farm, so that could become a potential issue, is, if we, in FS22, say, go to a bigger map, or a big map with big fields, there might be, the harvest might be one of those that I'd prefer to do with people, and I would try to structure my play around that. try to find folks who were willing to help out and, truly get an active set of farm hands, and for harvest we could all work together, which means, whoever's driving the truck is moving around and following along, and I can do that with the angled pipe. Can't do that without being able to do that. Sorry, I had to go on mute for a bit. So, hope you enjoyed the sights and sounds of Raw Farming Simulator for those 15 or 30 seconds that you had there. But, yeah, so basically what I'm going to do is kind of finish up my thoughts and my chat before I head out, and then just keep the episode short. Well, just come back either when we're done, or it's possible when I'm gone that ours will jump back in and maybe finish the harvest, although I'm not going to be gone that long, so I probably would come back and he'd be still in the middle of finishing up. But rather than jump back in later and try to remember kind of what was running through my head this morning, I just figured say my piece before I head out, and then just makes it a little easier all around. So, I'm not going to be able to pick that harvester, am I? There's always a way. I found it does work. There we go. Not quite sure if this field's just that long that I get out of range or what. It's almost like it's shutting off when I get out of things, but it's not, because I exited the harvester at one point when I was unloading the truck last time, and everything kept spinning, so. But in any event, yeah, I've been trying to think through, my contractor position, and, how I wanted to handle that going forward. And, at this point, I really would like to get a few more contractors to help out, just to, really kind of get that option of working together and having somebody available, and maybe turn for a time a little more into truly a farm manager than necessarily doing most of the work. And I've gotten a taste of that this season, as I've said, and as you've seen in the videos. I've basically been telling you what has happened on the farm rather than what I'm doing now, which is doing it and sharing that with you as I do the work. But there's definitely enough happening now in other areas, in FS22, in that area we're getting a lot more mods, we're getting a lot of activity moving on that front. We've got just other things that I've had not been able to pay any attention to and so forth, as far as American Truck Simulator, and then things that I'm kind of getting an urge of, hey, I haven't done this in a while. I mean, as I was getting Train Simulator loaded up and popping around in my Steam menu, One of the things Steam tells you is the last time you played something, and it was an ATS, because, I've got the series in that, but, ETS I haven't touched since, December 16th, which at this point is more than a month. And I think that's the longest I've gone with that. Not sure that I'm going to clear this. I probably should not be playing these games with trying to not fold the pipe, but I don't know. I'm just curious now. I made it. Not sure that I'm really lined up on the row, though. I guess I'm not too bad. But even ATS, I think it's, been more than a week, or almost 2 weeks, so it's, it's getting up there as well. There's a few people who have been following that Coast to Coast series I've been playing with the multiple maps and just keeping up with how that's going. I'd like to do a little bit more of that and so forth. And so just having that opportunity, and aside from that, before I divert to the next point, kind of finish the point there, and then, as I said, just spending a little more time in real life, work, as I indicated during the holidays when I had a little more time. I'm back to normal work schedule, and I just don't, I have much less time to devote to gaming at all. I'm just more like everybody else at this point, where I might get a few hours a day. And so having to decide what to do with that time, or if I even want to use that time for that versus some other general pursuit in real life, or just relaxing, so forth. Because, it's winter here as well in the real world, and we've gotten hit with some pretty hefty snowstorms. I've had to spend a lot of time clearing snow, so there's a lot of duty calls going on and obligations in real life, and being the mature simmer I am, I understand that entertainment is entertainment and it has its place, but I'm not going to neglect my responsibilities in real life to overdo it in gameplay, because that's just not a good idea. But anyway, so that's all of that is kind of what's leading me to suddenly embracing what at the start of my FSN journey I was almost adamantly opposed to, because I certainly wouldn't be arguing with people, because people can play the way they want to play, and but I truly struggled with understanding the logic of folks who would get on here and buy so much land that they couldn't work it, that they needed farm hands. I'm talking many hundreds, if not over 1,000 acres. I think the largest landholder in FSN that I spoke with and worked with had like 2,500 acres at one point across multiple servers, and literally all they did for the most part was manage all the workers that they needed to get those things done. And it just didn't make any sense to me, and part of that certainly is the fact that I do very much enjoy the gameplay of Farming Simulator. So, it just didn't make sense to me, if you've got an opportunity to play and, play in this unique multiplayer experience, why you'd choose to do it that way. But, I guess maybe I'm seeing some of that. Once again, do I think I could get to 2,500 acres and all the work that would take to managing the workers for that? No. That my mind hasn't changed there, because to me, part of what I didn't understand about doing that was, these people would have dozens of workers, and they'd be constantly just planning out, okay, here's what needs to happen, here's what needs to take place, and then they're recruiting all the time, because just the nature of the beast here is, most people I think do show up who are on the farming simulator side and have an intent to run their own farm on the servers at some point. Now, that doesn't mean they don't do it for a bit, decide, it's too much of a commitment, I can't do it, and then they step back and maybe just contract once in a while so that they can still play, but they don't have the responsibility of, well, if I couldn't get to the fields today, my wheat would die because nobody's going to work my farm for me, or nobody's obligated to work my farm the way I am. Like, it's my responsibility to make sure things get done. So that's still a foreign concept to me of operating in that mode. Oops. Yeah, I ended up taking out some crop because I turned the wrong way. So lost a little bit of wheat there, but we're going to go up front and kind of take these couple passes here. And then, head on up. And then, likely it's definitely time for me to get moving along. Problem is, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see where it's going to take me. Alright, so I think I'm going to run this without GPS down here, and then I'll just position whatever it is, because it looks like it's going to really move me over to the path there and just cut a tiny swath. So I'm going to run a bigger swath here, and then we'll let it reposition when I turn around wherever that will be. My guess is I'm going to overlap at least half of this pass, if not 3/4, where I'll be empty, but we'll run that. We'll see how that all plays out. Alright, whoops. Didn't quite get far enough. Alright, so we do that. There we go. So that's kind of what I meant. So yeah, as you can see, it's definitely going to come back quite a bit. Hoping I'm not taking more crop out. So yeah, not quite 3/4, but more than half. So definitely a hunk there. And yeah, if I had let it position, you'd see I would have, gotten 1/4 of a header. So I at least wanted to move over enough, which is exactly my point here, that I'll be clear of the tree. I'm going to have to manipulate some of the field work here to get over to the lawn, because I don't think there's going to be enough width to get my header by the tree. And that's perfectly fine. That's why the header does what it does, and we can then cut through the crop as we need to. So we'll chop this up here at this angle and swing around and get ourselves positioned. And that'll likely require a little bit of back and forth here. Once again, why I love EV. Because I don't have to keep playing with the pedals. I'm definitely going to have to still swing back so that I line up. There we go. Hoping I can get this part done without filling the harvester. Because yeah, once I do that and I start moving, basically once I empty the truck or start emptying into the truck again, I'm going to call it for now and pick it up when I get back, because I'm really like 10-15 minutes later than I would have liked to have been anyway, but it's the nature of the beast. As I work my fields here, as I kind of am like, well, if I just get to this point, it'll make a little more sense for me, feel right, whatever you want to call it, as far as, where I'm at. So yeah, this will be good. So I'll run until I fill the harvester, and then I'll empty it out, and that will be with my awesome angled pipe that I talked about earlier. So yeah, I'm gonna have really struggle if they don't put something like this in FS22, and I can't do this again, because I really, really enjoy being able to do that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, so yeah, that's kind of the state of things in my life at this point, and how they affect what I'm doing here, or, in general, even on the channel. As I said, with more mods coming out in FS22, and really it's more maps than mods. I mean, you've probably seen I've done a slew of map reviews. I think I had 3 or 4 pretty quickly. Where obviously for weeks in the beginning I had none, and then I had one, and then maybe it was another week or a week and a half before anything else appeared. I think once again I'm off a little bit here. There we go. But even with mods, I mean, Courseplay has kind of advanced to the point where it's truly usable. Still nowhere near where it was in FS19. Same thing with Auto Drive. So obviously, the episode so far that I've done on Deer Creek was made possible with that, because otherwise, if it was just GPS like I had with Hastings, it just required a lot more of my attention. And if you've watched that episode, you've seen part of what I was able to do because of that automation was let the game run overnight and let the work keep going, because I had a massive field to plow and harvest to work on as a contract, and it didn't require that I have time during the day to do it, which helped, again, trying to fit it all in with work schedule and so forth. And I could just let the game run. And so because of that, I'm definitely spending a lot more time in FS22 than I was. Now again, that's not saying much, because I frankly wasn't spending that much time. I think I've just finally gotten over 100 hours in FS22, and we're basically 2 months since release now, so it's 50 hours a month, where it was a rare week that I got 50 hours a week in FS19. But once again, because there was that automation, I did have that possibility, because I could leave the game running overnight, and that would get 7 or 8 hours of game time in that otherwise wouldn't have happened. Let me be careful and not run too far, so I'm going to turn the harvester off, because I know I'm stepping away, and while I think when we log out the gas or the engine shut off and we're not burning gas, it might take a little bit of time, so why burn any fuel when I'm away? But yeah, not a bad start this morning. Gotten about half the field done, I'd say, and a good dent. And given that we've only got 3 fields of wheat, definitely a significant start to the harvest. And again, it feels good to be back on the farm and working it after I've been away for a little while doing other things. So even though I've been playing Farming Simulator, just not been working this one. So yeah, so with that, glad to be back with you all, actively doing some stuff, and I will see you in a bit. So I did want to pop in here because this is the area where we removed the trees during the live stream that we had when we hit around, or we're heading toward 100 subscribers. So if those trees were still there, I would not be able to do what I'm doing now, which was the reason I took them out, because I felt just that little bit would help. So I did just want to show you that, and with starting with the flat edge, which gave us the benefit of getting to the silo. We do have the full benefit of that work that we did a couple winters ago. So that's it. Just wanted to pop in and tell you that. So I'm just about done here in field 89, and I've decided to go ahead and drop some straw on this field as I talked about, and I'm going to cover the baling and so forth in the next episode, but basically wanted to wrap up the information on this one so that folks who kind of wanted to tie up on the harvest, the wheat harvest at least, kind of knew where we were at. So we've got about 300,000 liters off the 2 fields up north. We're going to come in at a little over 200,000 down here, so we're going to have about 500,000 in wheat. But, you know, we're moving along. It's been, you know, it's a typical thing, a few hours per field, so I've probably spent about 4 hours at least working on this today. As you can see, it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. The time is pretty close to real time, so I think that's an accurate enough indicator. And I've probably got a harvester and another one to get this field done at least, because it's typically about a little bit over a row or so to empty it. It's you know, getting quite a bit up there. It's almost 50%, so I get like two passes, not quite, and then my harvester is full, and I think I've got like 3 passes left. So that's where this sits, and so that'll wrap up the wheat harvest for this year, and I will see you next time.